All right, Mr. Shaggy. So we are at the halfway point. Technically, obviously, we're a little bit more than 41 games played, but I think we're going to call this our Chris Farley episode in that we're going to do a lot of remembering when. Remember when?
You remember when that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be that. Everything we're going to be doing this episode, we're just going to be like, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. And on today's episode, it's kind of, you got to do it. We're at the halfway point in that it's the All-Star game. So we are going to be looking back on some of the more fun moments of the Avs over their first 40 plus games. And we're going to be kind of doing that for the next week. This is going to be, specific moments. And then as, the days go and we get into next week, we'll be kind of focusing in on players, giving grades, awards, kind of just some fun things at the halfway point in the season. But before we get to any of that, first things first, follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com and follow the show on our YouTube channel over on the YouTube. Hit subscribe and get notified whenever a new show goes live. So overall, I guess maybe, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. We're not starting at the beginning of the season, although we might. Maybe we should start at the very beginning, but after that, we'll just go wherever we want to go.
Yeah.
But overall, I think we should start with initial thoughts of the first half of the season. Obviously, it's very good, but how would you summarize the Avs' first 40 plus games?
Absolutely incredible, honestly. To reach the All-Star break still being single digits in the loss category, especially after the start of the season where everybody was kind of expecting it to be one of those grinding years, like, here we go. And then for the tear that we went on and the cohesion that we got, I mean, it's incredible to see what we've rattled off and kept going. So, I mean, you're sitting in a good spot, especially in the standings.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my cat's enjoying it too. I don't know what she's doing back there, but yeah, I think everybody. I always do this. I always say like, "Well, I'm going to screenshot that tweet or screenshot that post, and then go back and call that person out or whatever you want to say." But
yeah,
I never do it, and you could have had a lot of stuff to hold against people because everybody just seemed to be jumping ship so early in the season. And we're like, guys, this is a long haul. This is an 82 game season. This is not COVID shortened season.
no,
Everything will be okay. And the difference between November and January is absolutely night and day. So yeah, they struggled to get off to a good start, but that's normal for some teams. It's okay. You don't want to, but sometimes it happens. You just have to get into the flow of a season.
the Avalanche are sitting on 8 or 9 losses right now. If you go back to October, 3 of our losses came in October.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we are sitting in February,
and you have 8 in the loss.
So
in the loss column, you have 8. You've lost 8 regulation games. Yeah,
that should speak volumes. Like, yes, it was a rough start. Yes, people were jumping ship. People were following either players or just like, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah,
which I mean, it's understandable.
Remember when everybody was calling for everything, trade everybody, fire Bednar, and then Bednar gets an extension.
Yeah,
and people are like, "What are you doing?" And it's like if Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland, who I meant to mention in the very beginning, have proven anything, it's they know what they're doing. And we always want to say like, "Oh, that was a great move. Taves was a great move," and then we want to turn around and be like, "What are you doing signing?" But like, you can't have those two things. We've put our trust in them, and they know clearly what they're doing. And I said I wanted to mention Chris McFarland, and I do very quickly because the Anaheim Ducks did sign a GM, and I will look up who it is really quickly because Pierre LeBrun posted about it. But it was rumored that Chris McFarland was in the running for that. Pat Verbeek they signed as their GM. Yeah, Chris McFarland was in the running for it, who is a hot commodity. The longer the Avalanche can hang on to him, it's a luxury. And he's the assistant. Joe Sakic gets all the credit and rightfully so. But every move Sakic makes, Chris McFarland is right there next to him. So I'm happy we've hung on to him even for a little while longer. But I feel like we're just counting the days until somebody's going to want him and pull him away.
You kind of feel like McFarland gets all this love because of this success the Avalanche are going through right now. And everyone knows you're not stealing Sakic because it's going to be like one of those Stevie Y moves. Like, even though he went to Tampa Bay, you knew he was not staying there.
Right.
And Chris McFarland's next in line. So you're hoping to get some of that Joe Sakic shine off of him and bring him over. And he's been a hot name, especially it's one of those every opening that comes up, he's right there. And speaks volumes that he's sticking with us.
I know. Smart guy. Very smart guy. So like I said, another day that we have him is another day of luxury. So that's that. So starting at the beginning of the year, and then, like I said, we'll go wherever we want to go. But we're talking about how things just got off to a rough start. The Avs, while they won the first game of the season against Chicago, it wasn't without controversy because Gabe Landeskog, after game number 1, and Nathan MacKinnon did not start the season, if we remember. He was COVID protocol, and he didn't start the season. And after game 1, Gabe Landeskog boards Kirby Dach and gets a 2-game suspension, I believe, right? If my memory is, So, they won the game, and then that was kind of like really what people were talking about more. And we were saying, okay, if Department of Player Safety is going to start the season off like this and hand down a 2-game suspension for that, fine. Let's play off of that. And it's just been a disaster for Department of Player Safety, as is the norm for them.
Yeah.
But that was not that's not really where you wanted to start with the win, which they got. But obviously the suspension for Landeskog is not what the Avalanche needed at that point in time, clearly.
No, absolutely not. And it was the first game on like ESPN, TNT. Like it was a big deal. And then for that to be the first national look that everybody gets at the Avalanche, you're kind of like, and then how games kind of went after that, you were like, oh, this is not the start the Avalanche need. Like Gabe's already getting suspended, and then we don't have Nathan MacKinnon, and it was a rough start. And when you see your captain go out like that, it's rough. And then when you're relying on the Department of Player Safety, in hindsight, we thought so highly of you at the time.
Yeah, for a little while you were doing okay. But that, that just started the rough beginning of the season, because like you said, you win that game against the Blackhawks and then you lose the next 3.
Yeah.
And Landeskog is out for those 2. I don't remember the game that MacKinnon came back, but it doesn't matter. But, they lost the next 3. They beat the Lightning in overtime, and then they lost to the Golden Knights. So, out of 5 games, they lost 4 of them, and one of them was a shootout win. So it was a rough start.
Yeah. And we mentioned earlier, that's 3 of our losses of our single-digit tally. So
there you go. Yep. Good.
No, I completely agree. It was a rough start, and to see where we are now, you kind of like laugh at it, and especially with the production that Gabe Landeskog's giving us right now, it's night and day. So it pays to stay.
Yeah, he got the contract. First game he gets suspended, but he has come back, and I think when this season is over, likely we'll have maybe the best season that he's had in an Avalanche uniform. I don't think there's any question about that. So
yeah, easily.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear from Bet Online, and then we'll kind of keep talking about this. Maybe get into individual games, which we like. So first, Bet Online has you covered this season with more prop bets, odds, and lines than ever before, as our NFL heads into the Super Bowl. And it's week and 4 days away.
Yeah.
It's just it's crazy. It gets later and later every year. I don't like that it's as far into February anymore as it is. But
it's an expanded season as well, so it's gonna continue.
Yeah,
it's gonna continue to get later.
I know one team that's not playing is the Washington Commanders. Is it Commanders or Commandos? That would be funny. That'd be a better.
The Commandos, they just have a skids mark right on their on their yellow trousers.
Oh, that'd be great. Anyway, betonline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, the NHL, obviously, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates on current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2022 seasons. It's where the game starts. That's betonline.net. Some really good individual games for the Avalanche this season. I would, I think the ones that we can kind of hone in on, I would say for the top three, and I don't know what order I'd put them in. I don't really think I'm not going to do that. But the Bruins game,
yes,
the most recent one. Well, they only played Bruins once. The Toronto Maple Leafs game, obviously the one in Denver, the one in Toronto was one maybe you want to forget about, and obviously that Florida Panthers game.
Yes,
those three games against really, I mean, obviously the Panthers are top of the standings. Toronto is flirting like top 5 of the standings, and Boston is Boston. They're always in it. They're kind of up and down this year, more up than down. But those three games, I think, were the trendsetters for the Avs, and just the momentum builders for the Avalanche. Just you can go back and point to those three games right now and be like, yeah, that's where the Avs felt like they arrived.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were tested in those games. They were behind. They had to work, and a lot of things did not go their way. And just like that Panthers game, I think I'm going to be thinking about that game all year. That was just a hockey fan's game. Yeah. It's one of those that you could throw on, like if it's one of those that'll be replayed in the off season when there's nothing going on AHL Network. That game's going to be on. Like it's a classic, and who knows, it could be a sign of things to come with how this season's playing out. So I would be remiss also with those top three games, because again, I have no life. Looking back at the season today, I know we had this bad taste in our mouth when it comes to Nashville, but back in November, Mikko Rantanen had a hat trick against Nashville.
Yeah.
And you got a goal from Bowen Byram against Nashville.
Yeah. Is that the one where Byram had the game winner?
Yes.
Is that the one where he had yeah.
And it was, 6-2 dominant game against Nashville.
I'm thinking of a different game for Byram, but
it was the production from both Mikko, especially because I think that was right around the time that we were talking about there's no love for Mikko, and then here he comes, hat trick. And with how everybody's kind of looking back at that too many men on the ice call and feel like Nashville has our number, it's not always been the case.
No, and even was it last year when they ran them out? It was 8-3 or something like that, I think, and they had like a 6-goal second period. Like
yes,
no, they I feel like they've been back and forth lately. And Nashville is more of a game team this year, so you're going to have some pretty entertaining games. But yeah, I think maybe on the downside of things, people still haven't gotten over that too many men in the ice call.
Yeah,
just because it was so egregious. I mean, we talked about it for a couple episodes in a row, and it was just one, like the game that they just lost in the shootout to Arizona. Like, I'm over it.
Yeah,
you put up a good fight, and Arizona beat you fair and square. They played by the rules.
Yeah,
they pulled their goalie, they got a goal, and they did what happens sometimes in a hockey game. I'm over that one.
Yep.
I'm kind of not over that Panthers or the Predators one yet, because it was just so wrong. And when you're on the losing end of that call, and I think about this, how would I feel if I was on the opposite end of that call?
Yeah,
I would fully admit that it was a bad call, and I don't know. Would I feel like if we had won that game, we would be a point up on the Panthers right now.
Yeah.
Would I feel like there should be an asterisk next to that? I don't know. Maybe that's a fun conversation to have.
And you feel like how we're talking about the Arizona game, like we lost, we move on. I feel like Nashville fans, when you're talking about that game, also treat it like we won, move on. They don't want to explain that too many men on the ice call. They're like, hey, it happened. Let's not talk about it, because it'll implicate us. Like, we shouldn't have won that game. So we won that game. That was nice, but let's move on, because they also remember when we handed their butts to them earlier in the year. So they know what's actually going to happen. So
So unfortunately, that is something that kind of sticks out on the negative side. Another one that sticks out, it's both positive and negative. It's more negative now because of how it's going for him. And you mentioned Bowen Byram earlier in that Nashville game. He got off to a fantastic start, fantastic start, and was kind of getting thrown in the mix for like the Calder in early mid-November, and we all know where it is now. So that's just there's so many unfortunates about it. And, the you want him to get healthy, and, it's a serious stuff that he's dealing with, brain injuries. From a hockey standpoint, you were excited for him because he was back. He felt like he was good. And from the personal side of things, you really have concern over him. So it's kind of like that, tipping, trying to level out the scales. Health is always going to win out in my eyes. I just care about your long-term health, especially for someone that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
But things were looking good for Byram early on, and that, from the hockey side of things, that's the downside.
Yeah, and everybody was thinking about that dream pairing of Kale and Bo, in the playoffs, having both of them together, especially the way he started the year. Like, everybody kind of like, the fantasy matchups, like how you're going to put those D pairs in the playoffs. Like, Bo's got all this potential, and then you hear about what he was enduring on the daily, and waking up and calling his folks and saying, "Hey, I can't do this anymore."
I know,
and like, you're living out your dream. 20 years old, you're playing on a storied franchise, a storied organization in the NHL, and you wake up and you have all of that potential money there in the future, and you're just like, I can't do this. Like, it breaks your heart. And we talked about, like, when he made his comeback with Ryan Murray, you're like, every time he was out there, you kind of wince because you know what he's enduring, and you want him to take care of himself. Like, that's more important than anything you can do on the ice. Take care of yourself for the long term. And yes, I want you to get healthy. Do I want to see him again this year? I'm fine. Go take care of yourself.
That's I kind of don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I just feel like you need to take. This is like an injury, where, like, for different reasons, but Tiger Woods takes a year off because he's got, the before the car crash and the broken, those back problems, and you need, and when a back is a back, and that hurts, obviously.
Yeah.
This is your brain, man. Like, this is nothing to mess around with.
And it's you could draw the comparison to watching Calvert and how everything ended with him. Like, you knew he was struggling, and then he came back with that pink visor, and they did like a piece like, this is going to help, and it raised awareness to, I didn't even know that would help. So you saw that, and then he would play a game or two, and then he'd be out. And then you're like, oh, and you're watching him struggle, and him go back out there, and you could see in his face, it's just not there.
Yeah.
Watching that struggle is painful.
I kind of felt like when you resort to like a pink visor, which, like you said, like, I didn't know that really, I mean, it makes sense when they explain it. When you resort to that, it's almost like there's nothing else beyond that. If that doesn't work, hang him up. And that's what he did. All right. Who do we got? We got Rock Auto, and then, there's a couple things that we haven't talked about yet. One that I will absolutely talk about, and one human being, which you obviously can't wait to talk about, which is always fun to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But first, rockauto.com. With the ever increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have a computer with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. It's a family-run business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low for every customer. So go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com, see all the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on in the How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know that we sent you to them. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. That is rockauto.com. So we knew Kale Makar was good. And I think the play that you will see over and over and over and over again, if you haven't already, you're going to continue seeing it. Likely this weekend at All-Star Weekend, you're probably going to be seeing it a lot there. You're going to be seeing it on the just NHL when they edit together clips to promote the league. Like it's everywhere. That move that he put on Kirby Doc in the overtime session against Chicago was just, I never get old just tuning in to going to YouTube, and it never gets old to watch it. It's much like when the Avs had the dumpster fire season and the very next year they came back and made the playoffs, that empty net goal that gave it was against the St. Louis Blues. Winner goes to the playoffs. How much greater of a thing that could that be? And he shoots the empty net goal with like 3 minutes left, and they all just literally play a game of pile on. I will watch that maybe like once every couple weeks just to make me smile. I do the same thing now. That is added to a short list of Avalanche videos that I have saved on YouTube. It's just, it was a thing of beauty.
Poor Kirby Doc. He's not had a good year when it comes to the Avalanche. He gets completely decked by Landy, and then Kale puts him on every commercial that you'll see for the rest of the year.
It's true. I mean, that is the hockey equivalent of posterized in dunk form. So that was amazing. We got to talk about Devon Taves. He's kind of had a coming out party this season. I think he's still leading the league in plus minus. I haven't checked in a couple of days. He was high. There was a distance between him and who was second. Let me see. Actually, he's tied right now. He is tied plus 31 with Ryan Hartman from the Wild. But he has, I still don't think he's had a negative game yet, again, unless he's had one recently, which I don't believe he has had. No. I mean, he's just that. You were just saying how it was thought maybe it'd be Byram and Makar, and maybe because of injuries, it's worked out where it's Taves and Makar, and that is just a defensive pairing that you cannot mess with.
And it's one of those that in the offseason, everybody's saying, how do you get over the absence of Ryan Graves? Like, that was his claim to fame with the Avalanche, was that plus minus and his efficient play when he was out there. Insert Devon Taves.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
He's been absolutely incredible, scoring when he needs to, but when he's out there, he's doing the job. And even in that Arizona game, he's in the places he needs to be. And he's doing the right play, leading his line. And I think another player that we're not appreciating enough.
Yeah. So, he's having kind of like a coming out party this year. I think for local Avalanche fans and maybe people that really follow the league are noticing Logan O'Connor. One of those depth guys that, and I was asked doing crossovers. I did a couple fantasy hockey shows, and they were kind of, who's that diamond in the rough guy? I would always give him two. I'd always throw out Sampo Ranta because I like throwing a rookie out. No matter what, I always like throwing a rookie out. Like, this guy could be that guy that just had to break out as a rookie. And I would say Logan O'Connor.
Yeah.
And I didn't expect this. Like he's been an absolute force every time he's out there, whether it's 5-on-5 and clearly on the penalty kill.
Yeah, and to your Sampo point, if you guys are sick of hearing me talk about Nas, wait till Sampo makes the squad. Oh, I'm a Sampo stan, so you will hear it a lot.
That's your new horse, yeah.
But LOC has been incredible this year and very unexpected, especially when he was coming up. You did not anticipate this production out of him, and he has far exceeded everything and consistently doing so. He's been a welcome addition to this Avalanche squad.
Yeah. And while Sampo Ranta hasn't been the rookie that I thought would kind of take off, Alex Newhook is. Alex Newhook, Newhook is legit. And again, what's he got here? 34 games in. And you can just feel his comfortability level rising and rising. And even in the coaching staff, they're putting him in that second unit. There was a couple times he was in the first unit power play. It didn't happen a lot, but when there was injuries, they needed to slot him in there, and they put him in there, and you felt like he can handle this.
Yeah.
So he's going to be, he's going to be an exciting player to watch for a long time.
Yeah, and especially with how the year started. Like if you
Yeah.
followed Newhook and you saw what he did in college, you knew what he was going to be when he arrived. And for him to start and it be kind of flat, and Bednar just say, "Hey, we know what you can do. Go figure it out and come back." Guess what? He's figured it out. He's back, and
Yeah.
he's going to be here for a while.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
doing exactly what he did in college. So bring it on.
16 players on the roster have at least 10 points. The last one on the number 16 is Bowen Byram, who's got 11. And he's been out for a while. In 18 games, he's got 11. Number 1 on that list. If anybody had said who's going to lead the Avalanche in points, you're probably one of 2 players, Mikko Rantanen, and maybe the majority are going to say Nathan MacKinnon, understandably so. I'm willing to bet 0% if you voted or if this was Family Feud, we polled 100 people. Top 2 answers are on the board. It's Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. Nazem Kadri would probably be nowhere on that list, but he is having a Hart Trophy like season. He is your boy, and not only is it like good just to see him have this type of season, but having it after what happened last year in the playoffs, I think is really what kind of sweetens the pot for Nazem Kadri, the Avalanche, and Avalanche fans, obviously.
Yeah, it's no secret. I've been a Nas fan since his Toronto days, and even if you ask me, I would have never told you that he would have this kind of year. I don't even think he anticipated having this kind of year, and especially with how last year ended in the playoffs, almost like mirror of what he went through in Toronto and his Boston antics. Like you're like, oh, here we go again, and he's like, I'm getting to a point in my life where if I want to achieve something, I have to get this in check. And he has been an absolute hockey robot.
Yeah.
Like he's been out there doing what he has to do. There's no extra. He's not trying to overdo. He's not trying to just put it on cruise control. He's doing the exact same output game in, game out. And yeah, Hart Trophy. I mean, it makes sense. Like he's on a mission this year. Now we're talking about this at the halfway point. We got to get to the playoffs and we got to see what he does because he has his incidents here and there. The playoffs always get him. Can we get past that second round and can we keep Nas with us going into the conference final?
Yeah. I did a show. It was early in mid-November. He was, obviously playing well. He's been playing well all year. And I did a show because people were kind of talking about sign him to an extension now. Sign it. And I was like, let's not go there yet. We still got a long way to go. We still got to get through the playoffs. I'm kind of regretting that now. I'll fully admit that. Like, I was wrong there.
Yeah.
Because he's likely played his way out of Colorado, unless he's going to give them a discount, unless he's going to give them and you can't even say it a hometown discount, but kind of another contract right around where he is right now. I think he's probably going to go elsewhere because, like we said the other day, if he wins the Hart Trophy, he's getting an increase from somebody. If he's one of the finalists for a Hart Trophy, he's getting an increase from somebody. Yeah. And I just don't think the Avalanche have the money, knowing what's ahead of them, namely with Nathan MacKinnon, to kind of really give Nazem Kadri, because he's making, 4.5 this year? And what's he going to command after a season like this? Nobody was expecting this. So nobody really knows what he's going to command going into the offseason. So what I would say is just enjoy the ride right now with him.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. He's been spectacular. Hopefully he can continue that and continue it into the playoffs. And if it ends in a cup, that is the goal. Yeah. And then you deal with the offseason when the offseason comes. If you can't sign him, you can't sign him. But if you win the cup, it's all okay. Then we just have to restart and reboot without him, likely. Because then throw a Stanley Cup on top of a Hart Trophy or even a Hart finalist. I just don't see how they keep him. And I hate saying that right now because it doesn't matter. You're in this season and you have a lot to accomplish in this season. So let's focus on that. Enjoy the season that he's having. And then when the season is completely over and all the games have been played, then we'll talk about stuff like that.
Yeah. And you know what? He's doing a really good job at making it hard when this is all said and done.
Yeah.
Especially when there were so many vocal people saying, leave him unprotected in the Seattle draft. Let him
Oh
go.
yeah. And I didn't want to do that, but we were having those conversations as like, would it be strategically a good thing to do that coming off of the suspension?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't think the Avs were going to do that, but us having a podcast, we kind of just talked about it. Why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just nice to see that turnaround. And there's been multiple times, like, this is a brutal sport where you're going to retaliate and you see him restrain.
Yeah.
So I have all the confidence in the world that these playoffs and the rest of the season is not going to be an issue when it comes to that for Kadri.
Yeah, it's a good thing Seattle didn't take Kadri or EJ. They did take Donskoy. Congratulations on your first goal of the season.
Good job. Yeah, I mean, we still love you, but that's nothing is working out there
No.
for Seattle. Rumors going around that he might be coming back. I'd be okay with that if he.
Oh, we changed our number.
Yeah.
New phone, who dis?
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for today. So, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. I haven't really decided what we'll do tomorrow. We'll probably throw some grades out or something like that. But whatever we do, let us know. Any favorite moments that you guys have had from this season so far, shoot them over to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter. And we'll talk. Maybe I'll put them up on Instagram, like do a poll up on Instagram, some of your favorite moments. So, and we'll read them for tomorrow if we get some. So that'll wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is obviously always appreciated. Go check out Locked On NHL. Get caught up on everything going on around the league for your second listen of the day. But that'll wrap it up for us. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.